Cortisol gets blamed for everything: exhaustion, belly fat, mood swings, poor sleep, burnout, and inflammation. And I hear about it from women that I work with all the time. They come to me and say things like, I read this article about cortisol and it sounds like they're describing me. I have the high stress, the stubborn weight around the belly, inflammation. I think it's high cortisol. How do I lower it? Here's what I want you to know. Cortisol isn't something you want to just lower. It's not like blood sugar or cholesterol. Cortisol is a pattern, and most importantly, a signal. And once you know what that signal is trying to tell you, you can stop fighting your body and start reversing the pattern of stress, weight gain, exhaustion, and inflammation. And that's exactly what we'll unpack in this video. I'm Nadya, by the way. On this channel, I help women take charge of their health and turn their health around by offering simple, doable strategies and insights to help you reduce inflammation, become more consistent, and feel like yourself again. So if any of this resonates, give this video a gentle thumbs up and subscribe. So to make cortisol really simple, I'm going to use a metaphor that I use with my clients that they love. Think of your body as a little village. Every organ, every system, every hormone has a role to play and a job to do. In this village, there's departments responsible for different activities like the waste management department and the energy department. And cortisol, she is your security department manager. Her job is to protect you and to keep you safe. Her job description includes a broader list of things like waking you up in the morning, keeping you focused on tasks, and keeping you alert and ready for action in case something intense, stressful, or scary, or even exciting might happen. In a healthy rhythm, cortisol should rise in the morning to wake you up, spike when needed for safety or focus, and then fade in the evening so you can sleep. We need her. She's not the villain. She only becomes problematic when she stays on the job way too long. And like any employee who stays on shift back to back day in and day out, she gets tired and brings chaos. Or she burns out, crashes, and doesn't show up to work at all. Here is where it gets interesting. Cortisol doesn't work alone. Adrenaline also works in the security department, but she's the first responder. She actually races onto the scene first, before cortisol, shouting, "Alert, everybody get up, something is about to happen, get ready." Adrenaline kicks off your fight or flight response as soon as your body is triggered by something. And that something can be a physical stressor, like falling off a bike or coming down with something. It can be an emotional stressor, a tense email or a looming deadline. It can also be positive excitement, like watching your kid win something or preparing for a fun event. And there are some sneaky stressors, things like over-exercising, under-eating, doom scrolling, or watching an intense film at night. Adrenaline gives you that jolt from the inside to get you alert and ready for action. And once she's done alerting every system, her job is done. So cortisol, your long-term security manager, shows up a little bit later. She stays on duty and continues to look out for danger even after the initial trigger and excitement or stress is gone. Because that's her job, long-term safety and security, right? So this whole adrenaline cortisol sequence evolved as a survival mechanism. In our caveman days, it worked beautifully for short-term intense threats, like running away from a tiger or surviving a storm or a famine. But today, in our modern life, we don't face tigers. We face inboxes, alarming news, traffic, multitasking, and your body. It can't tell the difference between a tiger and your 10 p.m. social media doom scroll. So cortisol never gets the message that the emergency is over. She stays on duty all day and all night, and this is when your symptoms start to show up. Here's the part most people get wrong about the symptoms. High and low cortisol actually aren't opposites. They're different stages of the same stress pattern. Cortisol isn't just a problem when it's too high. It can also crash and become too low after a really extended period of staying high. It's about how long your body has been living in this chronic emergency mode. These are some of the first things that you might experience. Tired but wired, cravings, especially for sugar or carbs, wide awake at night, even when you're exhausted, afternoon energy crashes, irritability, mood swings, anxiety, brain fog, inflammation, and stubborn weight gain around the belly. And this is what most people will label as high cortisol. And it's easy to blame yourself, but the truth is it's not a flaw. It's a signal. It's your body asking for support. When the security manager stays on without relief for too long, she will burn out and she will crash and not show up to work. And so when you have that low cortisol, you might experience things like morning fatigue that feels like cement in your veins and your joints, sluggish energy all day, no matter how much you rest, low motivation, you might feel dizzy or lightheaded, and you might have this I can't handle anything right now feeling. Again, this is not a weakness. This is a signal from your body that it needs support. Okay, let's talk about cortisol belly because that's one of the biggest things that women ask me about. Does cortisol cause belly fat? Yes, but not in the way most people think about it. Here's what's actually going on. When cortisol senses an ongoing crisis, she does what any good security manager would do. She wants to store some extra resources just in case. So she collaborates with Insulin, your village's resources director. Insulin's job is to take energy from the food that we're eating and deliver it to your cells or all the homes and departments in the village so they can function. If cortisol senses is a long-term crisis, she makes those homes stop opening their doors to insulin's deliveries. That's insulin resistance. The fuel can't get inside. So insulin rises because he's still trying to move that energy somewhere. And insulin says, sure, I'll store it right here in the village square where we can easily access the resources. And in your body, the village square, you guessed it, it's your belly. It's central. It's the most accessible place to get the energy from when the body feels under threat. That's why we experience weight gain around the belly. And it's not because your metabolism is broken. It's your body protecting you and getting you ready for a potential crisis. But there's another piece that many women don't realize. As part of this protect the village routine, cortisol also reprograms your hunger and your fullness signals. When cortisol senses a crisis, she calls on ghrelin, your hunger hormone, and says, hey, can we dial up the hunger a little bit because we're going to need to eat a little bit more because we're going to need more fuel to survive this crisis. And then she calls leptin, your fullness hormone, and asks leptin to dial down that signal of fullness because, again, she wants us to eat more and store more energy. So if you find yourself craving carbs, sweets, salty snacks, or comfort foods, it's not your lack of willpower. It's your biology saying, we're in an emergency mode here. We need energy right now. And then, insulin takes that extra energy and stores it right in the village square. And unfortunately, that visceral fat around your belly, it also happens to be inflammatory. Here's a myth-busting moment. Does cortisol lead to inflammation? Yes, but in small amounts, cortisol is actually anti-inflammatory. What? In small amounts, cortisol is designed to reduce pain and calm the immune response. That's part of its job during fight or flight, to shut down pain signals so that you can keep moving even if you're hurt. So cortisol itself does not cause inflammation, but it's the chain reaction that starts after cortisol has been in the body too high, too long, that leads to inflammation. We already talked about the abdominal fat that can be inflammatory. So that's one way in which cortisol leads to inflammation. The second link is through the gut disruption. Cortisol messes with your digestion, with your gut in several ways. It slows digestion, weakens the gut lining, and shifts your microbiome toward more inflammatory bacteria. And since 70% of your immune system lives in the gut, that disruption raises inflammation fast. The third link is through the sleep breakdown. Cortisol is supposed to drop at night so that melatonin can rise and you can sleep deeply. But if it stays elevated through things like late night screens, too much blue light, too much excitement in the evening, you end up missing out on deep sleep when our body should be naturally detoxing and reducing inflammation. And here is the real kicker. High nighttime cortisol actually makes insulin less effective. So the body ends up storing more fat from the food that you're eating. So the bottom line is that cortisol isn't the enemy. It's the never-ending stress signal that leads to this cascade. And that's what drives this cycle of belly fat, cravings, poor sleep, exhaustion and inflammation. Oh, and one more thing that people get wrong about cortisol. Most people think that it's something that happens to us when we are stressed, but there's actually a sneaky pattern that I didn't even get into in today's video called cortisol addiction. It's when your body starts depending on stress hormones just to feel normal. Most women have no idea that they're stuck in it. I'm actually creating a quick self-check quiz to see if you might be in this pattern. So if this is of interest, make sure to drop the word quiz in the comments and I will make sure to share the quiz with you. People often ask me, is there a food that raises cortisol and is there a food that can lower cortisol? Technically, yes, we can do a lot with food. I've actually linked my anti-inflammatory food guide in the description box so you can download it to get started. But for cortisol, it's definitely not just about what you eat. Cortisol is really about how safe your body feels. So it's really about paying attention to our patterns, to our daily choices, and making some shifts. And when you start making those changes, that's when your security manager will finally get the message. You're safe now. And she can clock out, go home, take her shoes off, and feel better. And so can you. So here are a few things that can help to get you started. 1, create predictable rhythms, especially with food and sleep. Eat at regular times and try to go to bed earlier. Your body feels safe when it's on a predictable schedule. 2, move your body kindly. Things like walking, yoga, and simple strength work tell your nervous system we're okay instead of spiking adrenaline. 3, soften your evenings. Turn off screens a little earlier. Set boundaries with work. And of course, bringing in some stress reduction techniques like breathing, meditation, yoga can be very helpful. I actually made 2 more detailed videos that walk you through these gentle shifts. I'm going to link them right here on the screen and in the description box. Make sure to watch them next. And hey, if this video was helpful in any way, make sure to give it a gentle thumbs up and subscribe below so that we can continue to hang out here every week.